Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Prime Time ZW. My name is Farai Mwakutuya, and this effort is brought to you by the Business Times. Today we are talking about venture capital. It's something that I think has been done in this country in the past, but seems to be getting a new lease of life now with the formation of the National Venture Capital Company of Zimbabwe. And I'll be speaking to the Chief Executive Officer, Tinotenda Kambasha. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Farai, and hi everyone, and thank you for having me on the show.
Great. I obviously want to get into quite a bit about what you do, how you've done, but I always like to say, let's not assume anything or take anything for granted.
Sure.
In a nutshell, very briefly, what is venture capital?
So, venture capital is an area where traditional ways of finance haven't been working. So the problem that we have, especially in Zimbabwe, is having patient capital and capital that also understands other assets. And by that, like, we respect assets like intellectual property. We respect assets like even things that have a social dividend, community growth, and so forth. So when you look at venture capital, generally you're looking at more patient money that is not high interest if it's debt, but it's more of equity. And you try and help a company grow. You get into the business at its commercialization stage or infancy stage, and then you come in with that funding and help them become a full-grown business and help them, assist them in not only just setting up their companies, doing their finances, but also finding markets and finding partners. It's quite interesting because in some instances, we discovered from some of the applications that we got that they didn't need funding. What they needed were the right partners, media partners, to get their product on the shelves. So it's a very nice open book to say that you can play around with different sectors, and it's not limited just to the usual, whether it's AI or agro processing. It's quite open across all sectors.
So how would you characterize the entrepreneurial ecosystem? Because you're essentially dealing with entrepreneurs and getting them to start up and then get their projects up and running. How is the ecosystem?
So the ecosystem right now, we're working on that. There is a lot of work that needs to go into the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Zimbabwe. The first thing that I did mention was financing. So we have got short-term finance that's very expensive and usually denominated in US dollars. So you'd find that interest rates, if you're looking in US dollars for an average person, would average between 15 or 18%, and that's a big corporate. That's in US dollars. And if you're looking in ZiG, on average, you're looking at about 43% interest. And what you also get is that once a business receives funding, which makes no sense, Farai. How can I get money from you and then the next month you're asking me for repayments? At what point did I procure the machinery?
Exactly,
At what point did I find the market? At what point did I find the people to work for me? But you'd find, like with a traditional bank or any financial institution, microfinance or whatever, the moment you receive money, the next month they want that money back. So, that's what the major issue is in a nutshell. But there are other things. There are other things that we expect entrepreneurs, even young people, students, right, to start paying taxes and so forth. We don't give them tax breaks.
Oh, yeah.
You're a startup, you're a young person, you don't have, you're now having to deal with NASA, Zimra and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we're also trying to work on that, just give them a bit of relief whilst they set up. The other issue is that collateral, right? It's also a big thing. So nobody is investing in you. Nobody's investing in your idea. Nobody's investing in your research or the markets that you've created. So which is the area which I find entrepreneurs are having a very difficult time in, that we are trying to fix.
Okay. All right. How has it gone so far?
It's had its teething issues, but it's been very brilliant. I'm actually very proud of the companies that we've funded so far. So if you allow me, I can give you some examples.
Yeah, sure. Obviously the sectors and, the innovations around that.
I think I'll give you about 3 or 4 so you can see the diversity of it and what we look for. So we're in the space of investing in innovation, and we look at new ideas and solving national problems. And we are based on 5 main principles, which is investing in the youth, women, previously disadvantaged or disadvantaged areas or people, community development, because community is very important, and devolution. So we look at projects as far as Gwanda, Cholocho are some of our investments so far. And what we've seen, going back to your question, is that we've got a lot of great minds in this country. We've invested in, there's a student nurse who saw a big gap in terms of the time it takes from consultation to you to actually get the help in a hospital. So we've developed an app called kumbacare.co.zw. It's live, it's actually working. I've uploaded a couple of hundred doctors, clients about 400 to 500 now. And basically what that does, it takes the time away where you have to travel to the hospital, get a basic consultation before you see a doctor or a specialist.
Fill out forms, copious.
The usual. And, 72 hours is very key.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to address is, you got Ugogo in Zarabani or whatever.
Yeah.
And, what she would do is she would have to get money, get onto a bus, go to a son or daughter's house, stay there overnight or two, then go to Parenyatwa, queue. It's just, you're missing the golden moment of someone being ill.
Yeah.
So we want to diagnose that whilst she's still kumusha. And we've also come up with a short code, right? We're working with Potras. And basically that has an AI-assisted doctor who then diagnoses you in the initial stage. And then when it gets to a point where you now need to consult an actual human being, we're now working on the platform to basically in-drive a doctor close to you.
Yeah.
So the same way that in-drive works. So sometimes you don't need to move from Zarabani to Harare.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually, that specialist might actually be closer to you or on the way. So, we've tried to bring that in and then bringing down costs. And we've just invested in a company called Salutem. I know they're advertising on ZFM. And Salutem is a health insurance. $1 a month will give you $30 worth of medicine, right? So trying to bring all of that and making it affordability, accessibility, and stuff like that. Eventually, what we want to get to is to a point where we deliver the drugs to you. So obviously being rural, remote is quite difficult. So that's one of the businesses that we're quite proud of. The other one is a company called Pure Red. It's agro-processing. It dehydrates tomatoes into tomato powder. So what we saw though was there was a big loss in tomatoes or fresh vegetables on their journey to market. And then when you do get to Mbare Msika, you have a dominance or price manipulation by the buyer. Yeah. So it prejudices the seller. So what we're saying is farm as much as you want. Don't worry about it rotting. Let's dehydrate your tomatoes, turn them into powder, and it has a shelf life of 18 months. Now imagine you being able to just take out a pack of tomato powder, add water, becomes tomato puree, whatever, right, for your meal. So, we really like that project. So it's working out of NUST, and we're supplying food lovers in Bulawayo and a couple of bigger institutions. So you can see where...
certainly.
Where we're going.
A lot of these things seem to be innovation, sort of disruptive sort of things. Is that what you're looking for? I mean, you did mention the sectors you're specifically focusing on. Do you have a particular bias around things that are more innovative that will disrupt the market? So,
yes, we have a bias obviously towards innovation. It is part of our mandate. And if you look at NDS2, it specifically talks to industrialization and innovation. So we're coming in on the innovation part. But the good thing about disruption is that if you want to reach an upper to middle income economy by 2030, you have to disrupt. You have to grow at an exponential rate. And innovation is the best way. So we've been playing catch up, especially since the Second Republic has come through. A lot of things have happened fast. We've seen so much construction, roads. I mean, so much has happened in such a short space of time. And that needs that new way of thinking. Number one, yes, we can do it by ourselves. Number two, let's not be scared to dream. Number three, an institution like ourselves is there to support you, right? So, but in terms of sectors, we don't have any bias to any sector. We've worked agro-processing, telecoms. We've worked, now I'm looking at arts, which is quite interesting. I think the arts sector has not been supported the way it should be. So we are very much open to anything, new seed germination, new paints. Let's really come up with. Let's really come up with
really
anything.
Take away the box.
Yeah.
Beyond the issues you've spoken about, capital, patient capital, appropriate sort of capital, what else do you see as things that need to be changed in the regulatory environment, the policy environment, to make your role and the role of entrepreneurs more conducive and just to perform better?
We need to be more intentional as a country. I think we are leaving some things to the background. And by that, I mean, I talked about the legislation. We need to allow startups and innovators to have some sort of a break.
Yeah.
So a country needs to direct capital in a certain direction. And how do you do that? If you put tax incentives, make it easier for them, give them prescribed asset status. Some projects give them national project status, allow them to import machinery duty-free, right? So that's what we need to now work on, to say, look, we've realized that this is the direction we want to go in. And as a government, we're here to support. If you look at this sector, look at your Silicon Valley, look at all the big tech companies that we know today, Facebook or whatever, or Tesla, all received some sort of government funding, government support and incentives. If you look at the startup nature in Kenya, in Singapore, even in South Africa next door, right? They created a startup environment. So that's what we need to do now. And that's what we're currently working with in partnership with the likes of CZI and your other government institutions, your ZDAs, ZNCC and so forth, and Zimtrade. So we're trying to come up with that ecosystem. So our question is, okay, Zimtrade, where's the problem? And then they'll tell us, no, at the border, trucks are waiting 190 hours. Okay, fine. So us being a government institution, we now go talk to whether, is it ZIMRA, is it immigration? Guys, what's going on at the border? Yeah. You're messing up this issue. You go talk to CZI, they'll tell you, oh no, we have to pay this in advance or this. Okay, fine. So before we even get to the innovation and the funding of projects, we need to create an environment that is conducive for everyone to thrive in.
I want to talk about, obviously you've mentioned you're a government institution and you're putting in these funds. How sustainable is that?
It's very sustainable. It's worked elsewhere. And
at some point, I'm imagining that private capital must then come in.
Oh, no, we're already working on that. Right. No, 100%. Without speaking too much, we're working on a diaspora fund.
Okay.
We've also just managed to set up the Industrial Development Fund. And that we've distributed already probably about almost $1 million under the Industrial Development Fund, which is new, which is just in the last couple of months. And with that, we're helping companies retool and, wherever they're having issues in key strategic areas that are good for the state. So we have already started crowding in other funds. So with the Diaspora Fund, we're now looking to say our diasporans also deserve to invest in their own country. Why are we just looking at FDI? Why are we just looking at foreigners? Yeah. Right? And what is different between the dollar a foreigner earns and a dollar a Zimbabwean earns in a foreign government? So just because you're a Zimbabwean, does that mean that you don't qualify for the incentives a foreign national does? I totally disagree with that, right? Sure. So diasporas need to be given the red carpet. We need to give them their sector. We need to allow them to thrive. I was suggesting give them a road to repair, put a toll gate, let them earn their dividends over a 10-year period. Allow them to participate in their own country and allow them to make a lot of money, because where is that money going? Either way, they're sending the money back home anyway to sustain their families, right? Yeah. But we're saying we want to give you an opportunity where you invest a lump sum and then stop sending money every time someone gets married or dies. Because just take your money from your interest, right? Yeah. So we're trying to say, okay, fine, Isa 10,000 Yago, right? And we will sort out the end goal of the investment and we will manage it in a transparent way, right? Which is why they employed us, guys come from the private sector, credible, right? It's to also give that arm to say your stuff is going to be managed properly and you're going to get your income and we'll ring fence it and make sure that it's there for you. So that's another area that we're very excited about, and you'll see the Diaspora Fund coming soon.
Fantastic. I think, certainly the things you're talking about speak to a lot of the gaps perhaps that people have identified. Something I also want to talk about, the entrepreneurs themselves. I mean, I would imagine through platforms like this, they will know that there's a place we can go to and get to. But when you've engaged with them, how would you gauge the level of awareness of facilities such as this and just general business awareness of what it takes to take their business to the next level?
Well, you've got two problems. Number one, yes, awareness. Maybe number two, sort of limited resources. We can't exactly
Fund everyone.
fund the whole country, So which is why we've said, okay, innovation, and we've got those 5 pillars that I mentioned. But the awareness thing will come with the storytelling and results. So as an institution, we've chosen to go against what most people do. You would find that with most institutions in this country, they launch today, tomorrow there's a billboard. Or they're now running adverts continuously on radio, and they're speaking to their employer, but they're not speaking to their client. So we've taken a stance to say, we've been given the mandate. We don't see it being a short-term thing. So we do not rush into trying to look good. We'd rather have projects that are good. So we don't ribbon cut, we don't break ground. We launch products that are there. So which I mentioned, Kumbake is there. Pure Red is there in Food Lover, So, it's not wishy-washy stuff. So we rather let the work speak for us. But you are very right. The awareness is going to come more. We're only a year and a bit old. So the awareness is going to come through. And also for ourselves, we don't want to rush before we have the legislation in place. So entrepreneurs who then come through and still have to go through your usual setting up your taxes and NASA and ZimDev and we're trying to work on a way that makes it easier for them. So it also makes it attractive for them to come to us. So our volume will also increase because we're also offering more than just funding or shareholding. We also want to offer incentives and ways that they can grow as institutions.
Okay. One quick one. Obviously, you talked about social, community sort of projects that have that impact. It's an age-old question where people say, how do you balance delivering a social service and monetizing it to a point where someone's actually making a profit?
Okay. So we have, on average, a return that we want as an institution.
Okay.
But at the same time, we are looking at what I would like to term a social dividend. Okay. So if we look at a project and it has you, Farai, and we give you $100,000 and you are going to make $115,000, that's a 15% return. That's great. We're happy. There might be a project that we give $100,000 to and employs 50 people. 50 families, let's say, and gives a return of 112. And that project is in Cholocho. We are going to go with the other project, not yours. So not everything is financial. We don't purely look at financial returns. That's for banks, right? Okay. So our shareholder, the good thing is that we have a shareholder whose mandate is also supposed to provide service and goods and community life to the people. So unlike a shareholder of a bank just wants a dividend, cash dividend, we can go back to the government of Zimbabwe and say, we've delivered a social dividend. We have employed, like one of our tricycles, electric tricycle businesses, we've got over 300 of those electric scooters, Watsomba, Wedza, Chipinke, Domboshava, right? Those are remote areas, rural areas. We're helping with transport. We're helping women. We're helping young people, So when you look at just the commercial side, then you're losing it as a state. You have to, which is why we've got taxes. You tax from here so that you support an area that might not necessarily be purely commercial, but has a social impact. We put base stations in areas that don't make commercial sense as a country. We drill boreholes in areas that don't make commercial sense as a country because we understand, right? Rural electrification. The rates are different. You've got a whole department to do that because it's not commercially viable. So at some point, government needs to reshift resources to put everything that needs to be where it is so it helps everyone. So we also have a social dividend.
Is there a threshold in terms of this is how much we will fund in terms of projects?
Yes, for now, because of limited resources, yes. From the Industrial Development Fund, we're generally around $500,000, $500,000 is more or less the maximum. For the National Venture Fund, which is innovation, startups, and looking more at the young people, we are around 150 to 200,000. Around there. Sometimes 250, right? Just depending on the parameters that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, we range around there, minimum of about 20,000. So for 20,000 to 250 for the venture capital, and industrial development, about 500,000, between 250 and 500,000. Yeah.
You did mention that unlike other institutions, you don't ribbon cut and do all these things. But I must ask you this because, and it's one of those things that is obvious.
Why am I getting scared for that?
No. That is done quite a lot.
Yeah.
Targets. So in 5 years from now, do you have any milestones that you've set to say, look, by this year we must?
Yeah, definitely. So we calculated because we are under the Ministry of Finance. All right. So we report to the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance reports to the President. The President reports to the people. And the President has clearly said upper to middle income economy, upper to middle income society by 2030. So we looked at it and said, okay, what does that mean for us as a financial institution? How do we assist in that? And we looked at it and said, as a company, in the next 5 years, we need to grow at an average rate. We need to give an internal rate of return, average over the 5 years, of 15%. If we do that, we can say, according to NDS2 and the targets of NDS2, we have supported industrialization through the IDF, innovation through the National Venture Fund, and upper to middle income society by the return that we're getting. Because if the whole country grows at that 15% rate, we will get to the upper to middle income economy, right? So the country needs to move at that same. So we're saying, okay, we're playing along at that rate. So that's how we measure ourselves.
Okay. One final word, I suppose, to the hundreds and thousands, perhaps even millions of entrepreneurs out there who have been frustrated, who've run into brick walls trying to get traditional sort of financing. But not just them. I mean, if you were to give a word of advice to a person who's wanting to start up a business, an entrepreneur, what would it be? What would be the most important advice you could give them? Not just to approach yourselves, but just generally from what you've learned sitting where you're sitting and in all the years of your experience.
Be ready. Luck follows people who are ready when opportunity comes. And what I've discovered specifically in this country is, number one, we've got a mentality of I am owed something, or you don't see my idea, it's like therefore people get frustrated. The real world doesn't work like that. There's no handouts. So you need to do market research on whatever you're doing, your product. That costs you nothing. You need to find out suppliers, you need to do your homework, get offtake agreements, understand that there's a market, do your financials. You might not have money now, today, you might not have historical figures, but there's nothing that stops you from saying, if I order X number of tomatoes and I sell them for this amount, this profit and plus my costs are this. If I plow it back each month, my exponential growth over the next 3 to 5 years is this. That costs you nothing. But the problem that you're getting is that someone comes into the office and says, I've got this idea, Tino. Right? I'm like, okay, what do you have? Where's your business plan? This old mentality is killing our society. And we need to start thinking outside the box. And sometimes you don't need money. Sometimes you need access. Right? So you might need access to contracts. You might need access to suppliers. You might need access to export markets. We might be able to talk to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, being a government institution, and talk to embassies to say, embassies, look, we're exporting this product here. Can you find out in that country, from their version of Zimtrade, can we export this? And whilst you're there, what do they want to bring this side? And start increasing trade as well. So it's not always about cash, but my main thing is luck will always follow those who are ready.
While you were speaking, I was just thinking to myself, when you said, where's your business plan? I'm sure someone will say, look, Zuckerberg didn't have a business plan for Facebook. It was just a brilliant idea. Speak to me about, do we have those sort of brilliant, innovative, as a people, as a country, do you think we have that innovative nature in us?
So, going back to the example, Zuckerberg had a market.
Okay.
And he had a pilot, which started out as a community network within a university, which then grew and grew and grew. So he actually did the work. All right. I don't think there's anyone who's ever just woken up with an idea and boom. And Zuckerberg got government funding. So I'm just saying. But he had a plan. Yeah. But I hear you. You do get great minds. And so what we've done is there's no need for us to reinvent the wheel. Oh, yeah. When we started out as an institution, we were like, should we advertise? I said, no. You've got my universities in every province. Yeah. They've all got innovation hubs. Mm-hmm. You've got ZB Innovation Hub. You've got Old Mutual 825. You've got Bank ABC, which is an innovation hub. You've got Stanbic Bank, that's an innovation hub, amongst a lot of others, right? Yeah. So we're like, if you've got a good idea, right? If you want coaching and assistance and need to be housed in a place where you develop your idea, you do your market research, you've got free internet and whatnot, you rent a small little desk. I think ZB is $50 a month or something like that, right? You do your business out of ZB. You've got offices, you've got boardrooms, you do meetings, right? When you are ready for commercialization, then you come to us. We are not in the greenfield area. So you've got an idea that hasn't even got market research. That's not our space. Yeah. Go into the innovation hubs. There's multiple. Do that work. Yeah. Every single university. I think we've got 12 universities in this country. Every single university has got an innovation hub. Go into the innovation hub, get it incubated. I can tell you now, I was at MSU recently. MSU is housing proper products that are being sold by people of different age groups. You'll be shocked. You know, you've got this lady, very mature, but she's in the MSU Innovation Hub, making fantastic soaps and products and stuff like that. So go into the hubs, get your idea to get to commercialization, then we come and upscale you for the bigger picture.
I just want to say this because I know that a lot of people do this. Market research is not going into ChatGPT and putting in your idea there, because I see a lot of people who do that and say, I've done my research. ChatGPT says I must do this.
Yeah, no, exactly. And ChatGPT, like there's one business we invested in. These guys are milling small grains. ChatGPT doesn't have the market for small grains in Mzingani, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, indeed, do your work.
Fantastic. It's been great having you here.
Great conversation. Thanks for having us, guys.
Very inspiring in that, it's great news. Great to hear that you're doing well, and we wish you all the best success and hope to have you back so we can have more stories to tell.
Thank you, Farai.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
That does it for Prime Time. ZW brought to you by Business Times. I am Farai Mwakutuya. I'm back again to do this next time. Be sure to join me then. But in the meantime, engage with us on our social and digital media platforms that are appearing on your screens right now. Bye-bye.